MLB draft is kind of odd. The way you get picks is a little different than other NBA draft that you might have watched with Chicago Bulls or the Bears draft in the past. So we're going to walk through exactly how teams end up with the picks they end up, and eventually, Jim, the most important thing, the pool size they have to allocate the resources to different areas. Let's take a look at the first round here. So there's 25 picks this year, partially because there's certain teams that lose theirs based on some of the competitive balance thresholds you run into. The Cubs are obviously picking at 23 because of their standings last year, Jim. Talk me through anything that stands out on this list, teams that maybe don't have a pick or where the Cubs stand.
Well, you have 5 teams that don't have picks that fall in the true first round because, like you said, they drop down 10 spots. Yeah. It's the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, and Dodgers. You have a lottery for the first 18 picks, which winds up being 17 because the Mets drop down. And there's rules, like the Rockies, because they've won the lottery in the past, couldn't pick higher than 10th this year. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the Nationals. So you have all kinds of things. To me, the most interesting thing is the number 1 team, the Chicago White Sox, who had set a record for losses 2 years ago, weren't allowed to pick higher than 10th because they'd won the lottery the year before, which means they finished in the top 6, even though they moved backwards. But it's interesting to me, they're in first place, they're a playoff contender, and they have the number 1 pick. You just don't see that very often.
You don't. Very fascinating to see who they take. As we jump into what you would call, is this the start of the supplemental first round?
Yeah, I just kind of, because there's all kinds of different picks here. You have the supplemental first round essentially has the prospect promotion incentive picks.
Yeah, which we're looking at here.
The competitive balance picks, which we'll get to in a second, and teams like the Mets, who we mentioned.
Yes.
They actually had the 17th pick in the first round, but they dropped down 10 spots because they exceeded the second threshold
for the CBT.
Exactly.
Correct. And then you have Drake Baldwin over here, and you have Hunter Brown Cy Young votes over here, correct?
Correct. So if you're basically the way that rule works is if you have a rookie who gets a full year of service time, you don't have to be up on opening day, but you have to be up pretty close to opening day. You get full year of service time, you either win Rookie of the Year, or I think before you're eligible for arbitration, it's top 3 in MVP or Cy Young Award voting. So you have Drake Baldwin, you have Hunter Brown, you get a bonus pick at the end of the first round, which is
huge because that pushes up your pool a lot. Then we'll get to one other round that there are no picks, and this is the compensation picks area. This is for when you lose a free agent who you've extended a qualifying offer to that exceeds a contract of over $50 million. This maybe is going to get kind of messed around with the CBA stuff if they undo the qualifying offer.
They could tweak the lottery.
Yeah.
It's interesting because this is not a hot issue. Like, it's way down the list of priorities. So a lot of times, how much might change will depend on how long they figure out things, like the salary cap's the biggest issue we hear about. So if they have time to talk about the draft, they will. But if not, then maybe it gets tabled till a future CBA.
And then we jump into the comp round A, which is tradable now. These are interesting. Some of these have already been traded, but you'll sometimes hear MLB draft picks aren't tradable, and then you'll see these maybe thrown into deals.
Just a handful.
Just a handful.
So basically, the teams with the smallest markets, the smallest
10 smallest markets, 10 smallest revenue, correct.
Are eligible for competitive balance picks. Now, the Yankees and Phillies, these are picks that were in the first round that moved down 10 spots.
Yep.
The other teams here are all part, not all, like the Rays pick, they actually got that from the Orioles in the Shane Baz trade. The Giants pick came from the Guardians in the Patrick Bailey trade. But essentially, there's picks at the end of the first round, there's picks after the end of the second round, and those are the only tradable picks. It's like about 15 picks. Those are the only tradable picks. Once they've been traded, you can't trade them again. So the Giants can't, Buster Posey can't,
he's locked
day
in
before the
slot.
draft say, oh, I'm trading 29, we're going to do something. No, they're holding on that pick. But yes, the other team, and I've heard talk, the Pirates may want to trade pick 34.
Interesting.
Because they're kind of contending, and they could go out and get an asset.
And these are valuable, especially if a team's trying to maybe overslot a high schooler, push their pool up to be able to pay more. Last round we're going to talk about here is the second round. This is where you see the Blue Jays and the Dodgers with their first picks. Because of some of the competitive balance stuff, they got pushed down a lot. So technically, you could say it's their first round pick. It's not really their first round pick.
Well, you'll also notice they're not at the end of the round either.
Yes.
Because they lost second round pick. When you sign, I can't even remember all the free agent rules. But essentially, if you're a big spender like the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and you sign like a priority free agent, you lose your second and fifth picks.
Yes.
So that's why those picks should have been 29 and 30 if they weren't penalized. And the picks that have at the end of the first round, there's
Cubs at 62.
There's a couple other teams in here who've lost second round picks, but I'd be lying if I could tell you off the top of my head. It looks like the Red Sox are missing. I'm not sure who else.
It's confusing. The MLB draft is confusing. The main thing you're looking for, though, is the pool size. As we look at the Cubs' first 4 draft picks, they have a first rounder, a second rounder, compensation pick, and a third rounder. The bottom there is the most important. They have the 19th highest pool size. So is this enough money to work with, Jim? $10 million, it's not a ton, but they should be flexible in terms of maybe trying to overslot a guy late if they want.
Yeah, and you can go 5% over your pool. You just pay a tax on it. Anything over 5%, you start losing first-round picks. Nobody's ever done that since it started in 2012. Nobody probably ever will. So they can go over 10 million. I mean, the thing is, when you get to pick 23, like, they're not going to be able, like, you can also call guys, like, maybe teams may be trying to push guys past you. So, like, let's say you mentioned a couple of high school pitchers that the Cubs might like, Brody Bamila, Gio Rojas. Maybe somebody's trying to push them to their second pick and pay him. Well, the Cubs could just say, well, we're taking you at 23, and, like, you aren't necessarily going to get everything you wanted, but we can still give you a nice bonus, or you can go to college, your choice. So, like, they can't wheel and deal and be, like, making moves and, like, hey, we're getting a $4 million player in the second round, but you could still take good players.
I feel like Jim and I just became 20 times smarter talking through this, Alex.